Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Hi, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're up to. Welcome to this week's edition of Coffee Chat with me. I'm Catherine Oster. Good morning, Mom. Coffee cheers. This is my favorite part of the day. Hey, Tammy. Good morning. Coffee cheers. Okay, question for all of you. How do you like your coffee? Good morning, Ross. Black, cream, sugar, tea. Maybe you're a hot water and lemon and honey person. Do you put in some MCT oil in your coffee? I'm curious because I know there are so many different ways to drink coffee and I love discovering new ways. So I'm a black person, in case you were wondering, but sometimes I like to add in a pumpkin spice creamer or some Baileys. There's no Baileys today, or is there? Oh yes, and Cool Whip. Cool Whip and brown sugar is also really good. Good morning, Carmen. Oh yeah, Carmen's usually black. Oh yeah, hazelnut is really good too. Hello, Robert. All right. Well, yeah, let me know. I always love, discovering how people like their coffee and trying new things myself. So, today I want to talk with you guys about the pendulum of change. Tammy's a little cream. I like it. Mom is cream or black. Yep, I remember that. So I kind of had this aha moment the other day with something that was going on kind of in my life. And I was like, this is the pendulum of change. And it swings either way. So, and I'm going to use myself as an example in the very beginning. So in the very beginning, before, like my life, before I took any Access Bars classes or a foundation class or anything, my pendulum was over here, way over here. I was totally a people pleaser through and through. I did things to make other people happy because I wanted to bring more happiness to the world. And I thought that was the way I could achieve it, by doing things to make other people happy. And we're so aware, I was aware of the things that would make people happy. Hey, good morning, Marilyn. But the fucking person, I would do it for them. They wouldn't choose happiness. And I would get so frustrated because I literally, hi, Juanita, I would do all of these things. And then I had this projection and expectation that it would make this person happy, and then they wouldn't be happy. And then I would keep trying harder and harder and harder, and they still wouldn't be happy, because what it really boiled down to is, number one, they didn't want to be happy, or number two, they didn't know they could be. And so I gave up myself, a lot of myself, in favor of making other people happy. So these people were like my husband and my friends and just people around me at where I worked. And how that showed up for me was eventually it just quit working because I got so tired and frustrated. My body hurt a lot. I was like 25, 30 years old, a lot of body stuff going on. It just wasn't working. And then I got to this place where I'm like, okay, so what is the point? And enter Access Bars. So my pendulum is way over here, where I was just really making people happy. Enter Access Bars. Yep, totally burnt out, Carmen. And the tools of Access Consciousness. And we started having conversations about honoring yourself, including you in your life, what makes you happy. And it totally blew my mind because I didn't know what made me happy. I literally based my happiness and my joy on whether or not I could make other people happy. But what I discovered is like, well, I knew nothing about myself. I kind of, there was always horses in my life all along, so I shouldn't say like I didn't totally give myself up, but I was still functioning a lot of the time for other people. So learning these tools, getting my bars ran, starting to live my life discovering what brought me joy, what lit me up. Like, I discovered so many cool things about myself. And it's been such an amazing adventure, but my pendulum had to swing totally in this direction, where it felt like I became selfish. And I actually probably did for a few years. I had to go to this other extreme of being selfish and really going internal, and really kind of like, there was a few years where the people that I hung out with, I just didn't hang out with them anymore for a little while. But I didn't make any drama out of it. It just, honestly, I got busy with kids. Like, you know how people just, so just really went to this degree. I didn't show my horse anymore. Plus my horse that I was showing, he retired anyway, and I didn't really have a horse that was ready yet. A lot of the clients I had going on, stuff changed for them, so they weren't taking riding. So there was kind of a little while where every person in my life that I functioned from when my pendulum was like this would kind of just went away. And I felt a little bit lost and alone right now. Yeah, your pendulum, Annalise, your pendulum is way over here. And it was a period of time, it was really internal for me. I wasn't a facilitator yet. And, I was also struggling like with my kids and my husband a little bit, where I still want to contribute to them, but I wanted it to be, well, honoring myself and not giving myself up for them. So it was a really tricky balance. And I also had to recognize, like, it's okay, Catherine, if you give yourself up a little bit, but recognize that. And one of the questions that I always asked over here was like, does this work for me? Now, when you ask yourself a question and you're going for the awareness, yes or no, light or heavy, you get that knowing very, very quickly. Sometimes it takes a bit of a muscle building to get present with that energy. But if you take too long to answer, it's because you're going into thinking and figuring out. And thinking and figuring it out, your mind only knows what you've experienced in life so far. So does this work for me? No, it doesn't work for me. So I started saying to people, like, this doesn't work for me. And then sometimes I would follow it up with, but this is what works for me. And then, I started doing that with the people in my life. And then I would often ask, like, I could recognize with my mom, I didn't ever want her to feel obligated to take my kids because they were her grandkids, like to help me with them on days when I was going to teach lessons or whatever. So I would ask her, like, Mom, does this work for you? And then when I would ask her that question, I remember in the beginning, she was kind of like, because sometimes she would just default, well, I need to do this for my daughter, and not honor herself with that. So asking that question, and then I remember when she started saying, no, that doesn't work for me. And then I'm like, I was actually like celebrating it because I'm like, yay, she's choosing, and then I would always just find another way, whether I would ask somebody else or bring them with me or just whatever. So the pendulum totally swung this way. But then as I started using that question more, getting more clear of what works for me, my pendulum started to come back to, I would say, where it's pretty balanced now. And other people in my life that started to come into my life, that was lesson clients, people that I would hang out with started to come into my life from the energy of me honoring myself and wanting to contribute to other people, not give myself up for them, and other people that wanted to actually contribute to me. Because also when my pendulum was over here, I was not receiving at all, like not at all. So the people in my life, I was like the giver. And then nobody was like, and I shouldn't say that because Travis was there too, but I wouldn't let him. I also wouldn't let him. I would not receive from him. I wanted to control the receiving, and I did everything. And when I do everything, there's control to that as well. So it's going to go from one extreme to the next. But then you give it a little more time. You keep asking those questions. It comes to balance and everything. And you almost can't get here without going to the extreme, because you need to be able to experience both extremes in order to come to balance. So that's the pendulum of change, and that's where it gets really uncomfortable, and people will judge you as selfish, and maybe there's some drama that gets created over here too, because especially when you're not people pleasing anymore and those people expect you to, you know, but then it'll come back. And then there are actually in my life right now, there are some people that were over here that are kind of back in my life now, but in a different way. It's really cool. And this whole process, this whole pendulum swing has been like 10 years. But I would say probably this way for like 2 to 3 years. And then the last maybe 4 years, I don't know. And then the last little bit, because it was 2014, the last little bit has been a couple of years of experimenting my pendulum back here, where I can be with people. Like, and I even, when I was over here, I didn't want to go out anywhere really, or do anything social, because I didn't know how to be without falling back into who I was. So I was building that muscle. Now I'm here. Now I can go out places. I can do things. I know how to function. I've strengthened this new way of honoring myself to the degree where I don't lose it really anymore at all, actually. So it's really cool, the pendulum of change. Now this, I can see where this also kind of is shown up with another person that I'm working with right now, and they have a partner in their business, and the partner, you know, when this person was way over here, they were really frustrated with their partner because their partner wasn't selling. The partner wasn't taking action in the business or selling. The partner was really just sitting back, and then the person, the client, felt like they were way over here doing it all themselves, and they were stressed out and angry. And so through facilitation, change, and choice, over a couple of years, the pendulum has swung this way. But it's interesting because then the partner who wasn't doing anything has now been taking action and choosing things and doing things, and but the person doesn't like it because they felt like they weren't included. So the person over here that was doing everything is now feeling a little bit disgruntled over here because they feel like they're not being included because their partner has stepped up so much that they're just taking action and they're forgetting to communicate and inform. So the pendulum is swung. So my conversation with them was like, okay, well, recognize the change, acknowledge the change in the relationship, and then you have the information of what doesn't work for you. And then you need to take the step of communication to bring the pendulum back into balance and say, look I love that you are taking this action. Like, thank you. This is what I've been asking for. However, we are partners. How can we work together? I still want to be included and bring the pendulum back to the balance. But if you just get over here and you forget that one time you were over here, and then you recognize you're back over here, if anybody can follow this, I'm impressed. And you just kind of get angry at your partner for doing this without acknowledging what has changed, then the relationship just stays stuck in judgment. You know, there's no space for it to come to balance. So the pendulum of change, people, it's a thing. Annalise, after what happened yesterday at work, okay, cool. I'm glad it can contribute. If you guys have any questions or comments about this, send me a message or an email. If you're not on my email list, go to catherineoser.com and sign up for Money Magic Monday. You'll get some money magic on Mondays, and you'll also get on my email list. And yeah, access bars and foundation classes. I just can't say enough about the tools. So empowering and life-changing. The next stop for me is Lake Lenoir, Saskatchewan. December 1st is Access Bars class, and then we followed up with Foundation for 3.5 days. There's cabins available, accommodations if you'd like to travel, and then there's classes happening around the world where you can find them at accessconsciousness.com. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a fabulous Friday. What else is possible beyond what we could ever imagine? Bye-bye for now.